Hey there, how you doing? So this is a brief forecast for Wednesday the 19th because there's just one solo moon aspect, the moon in a square to Mercury. And then I'm going to run straight into Thursday the 20th, which has the moon going into Sagittarius plus 4 unique moon movements. So that's what I want to do, is get into the flow of this. There's a lot of information I've just posted in terms of the all 12 signs forecast for the North Node going into Aquarius. So there's a lot of stuff there, and I don't want to overcomplicate things. So anyway, let's get going. So for Wednesday the 19th then, when we're looking at this, you can see that the moon is already in the sign of Scorpio. So we might be feeling quite intense, a little bit tired, a little bit frazzled. You can see that the moon has just recently come out of the square to Pluto and just is coming out of the square to Jupiter as well. So any tension felt and observed on Tuesday the 18th will be abating, as we're going into Wednesday the 19th. That's just easing off, so we don't feel quite so irritable, quite so busy and stressed with all the new developments that are coming up. However, the only stressor that's really coming in on Wednesday is the moon in a square to Mercury. Now, these are going between the sign of Leo, Mercury's in Leo, and the moon in Scorpio. Both of these are fixed signs. Proud as hell, really super proud. And so what you might find is if you're coming and locking horns with somebody, you might find that you get the short end of the stick. If you're working with someone who naturally goes more into the Scorpio energy, the emotional Scorpio energy can be sarcastic when pushed, and it can be surly, and it can be absolutely like one word descriptions. So watch out for that. Whereas the Mercury in Leo energy, when pushed, can become kind of boastful and egotistical and a bit inflated. You might find the voice gets louder. So if you recognize any of these personas, do you recognize where you do it yourself? I certainly recognize myself in this moody moon in Scorpio. So just watch out for that. It's just, all that I think is happening is we're a little bit frazzled. There's been a lot of high energy vibes. We've got things to think about. There's something to really put our mind to task with. And, if we're getting lots of stupid questions, or what appears to be stupid questions, if we're getting disturbed, it's going to be really hard to keep our flow. So just try and keep your patience as much as possible is my advice. Now, as we go into Thursday, the 20th of August, the moon's heading into the sign of Sagittarius. Now, I think that is helpful because the moon in Sagittarius is a lot more jolly. And kudos to you if you've got moon in Sagittarius, by the way. I shouldn't slag off moon in Scorpio. My husband has that. I love everyone with the Scorpio thing, and especially my moon in Scorpio friends, because they are super intense and they definitely go deep. But I do think on Thursday the 20th we'll get some light relief. We'll get some of that jovial energy filling our cheeks. We'll get like a little bit of color to us, which I think is going to be great. So here's how I see Thursday running. First of all, the moon makes a square to the sun. Now that is our cue that things are about to get a little bit more exciting. You see, and I've mentioned this before if you followed me, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but the moon cycle is always a relationship between the moon and the sun. And so very recently, in fact, on the day of that big eclipse, last week on the 12th, they were in a conjunction together, starting off a new waxing phase. Now they are midway through that waxing phase, and so they're at their first quarter moon phase, and it means that all the new starts we're going through right now are going to start piling up. They're going to start gathering energy. So whereas you might have been tinkering around with things since the 12th and ideas have been coming in, there's been a nice flow, but it's gentle. From Thursday, the 20th, things are going to ramp up a little bit, and it's going to ramp up until The moon finds itself at 4 degrees in the sign of Pisces on the 28th. And then we have that last eclipse of the season and the year. So yeah, there is a ramping up. There is a change of energy, a change of tempo. So that's one thing to be aware of. The moon is also going to be going into an exact square to the north node, which will be just here when the moon's at 29 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, and it's going to be in an exact square to the south node at 29 degrees in the sign of Leo. That's symbolizing that you can't really move forwards while you've still got a couple of things outstanding. So to me, that's your little nudge to double check what you've got outstanding, because it's starting to drag now. You know, you're coming out of your flow. Anywhere where you've got some stuff holding you back, that is showing you that you've got drag. So get rid of the drag. You know, so first of all, you know, there's that feeling it's going to get quicker. Next, it's like, I can't get any quicker because I'm dragging. Cut the drag, get rid of those things that are outstanding. You'll feel so much better for it. And then when the moon goes into Sagittarius, it's like, whew, relief. There's that feeling of freedom. And of course, with that feeling of freedom comes a feeling of space. Sagittarius loves the energy of feeling spaciousness. And feeling independent. And so this is great. So we're starting to feel like, you know, we can, I don't know, like almost like if you've been wearing an almost like headache, you know, like the tension in your forehead sometimes, and you wear it like it's a crown of thorns, like really digging into you. You know, it's like taking off the headache. That's how I see it. Sorry, it's a very visual thing that came to me as I was delivering. And so then as you're taking off your headache, let's say, the moon is also going into a lovely trine with Neptune, which I think is going to be lovely. Honestly, it's in a trine with Neptune right from the start of the day. But as we're going through the day, that trine gets bigger and bolder and a lot more creative. So that is suggesting that you're going to be stumbling over some beautiful analogies, lots of great imagination. This is a time when you can start to dream. It's like the dreamer is awakening. You know, all of a sudden that symbolic language is really coming through. You know, these are both in fire signs. Fire signs have a lot of initiative energy and also a lot of inspiration. So this is a time when you're really filled up with inspiration. And then the final movement that the moon is making on that day, it's going to end that day in an opposition to Uranus. And to me, this is where you scare yourself, shock yourself. Maybe someone jump scares you. That's what my kids call it, you know, where they go, boo, and you jump out of your skin. So you might get a jump scare, to put it in the language of Gen Zs and alphas. But essentially, I think what could be happening is we get this feeling of, whoa, something is changing, like something in your unconscious mind. Oppositions, I think, are always showing us where there's a projection of some sort. And so the moon in an opposition to Uranus, and Uranus does talk about consciousness quite a bit, and the moon, our intuition. So to me, this is like a very deep, shocking intuition, and consciousness is able to come through and reach you. Almost like something is reaching you through the veils of reality. And so, yes, I think Thursday is going to get better, actually. You might shock yourself. And I would say, if you're shocked, it's not because something new has come in necessarily. It's because you always had that thing within you that is shocking you. So it might be the idea that suddenly triggers a recall, and then you're like, oh, bloody hell, I've got it. Woohoo. Or it's like, oh, shit, I didn't realize that. Oh, my God. But it's always something, I think, that's been living inside you, that suddenly the recall is there. And then there's that knowledge, that knowing, that sudden, like you stand up, you get it. You can see me bobbing up and down now, can't you? So I need to stop, or else I'm going to exhaust myself. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is the North Node has changed signs. We are absolutely in this new flow, and Wednesday and Thursday have some very strong energies. Wednesday is a little bit more sullen, a little bit more sarcastic. and a little bit more challenging. And Thursday, I think, is encouraging you to round off of anything that's dragging, so that you can speed up into some high level inspiration that could shock you and awaken you to how fabulous you are. That's the space I'm holding. So I hope that is good. I hope that meets with your satisfaction. Have a great couple of days, and I'll be back with another forecast tomorrow, in fact. So lots of love. Take care and catch you next time. Bye for now.